the 3 biggest mistakes guys make on instant dates and how to fix it. Now, for the guys that aren't aware of what an instant date is, it's a very simple concept. The idea is if you see a pretty girl in an everyday situation, a beach, a park, a mall, a shopping center, or on the street, you walk up to her, you start a conversation, and after 5 to 10 minutes, you invite her for a date, right then and there. Therefore, we call this an instant date. Now, instant dates are by far one of the best ways to meet and connect with women. Why? Well, simple. First of all, it saves you a ton of time because you don't have to worry about the whole bullshit texting back and forth situation before you end up inviting her on a date. And also, it allows you to stand out compared to every other dude that's been hitting her up, because how often do girls get approached spontaneously in everyday situations and then just randomly end up on a date with some random dude? It allows you to stand out and make a big emotional impact and gives you a higher chance of seeing that girl again. But through my experience, there's 3 specific things I see guys make mistakes on their instant dates, which then ends up leading to a flaky number or the girl ghosting them. And that's what this video is all about. So let's jump into the 3 biggest mistakes. So the first thing you need to be aware of is there's 2 types of instant dates you can take girls on. The first instant date is simple. The whole goal is for you to take a girl on a coffee date that goes for anywhere between 15 minutes to an hour. And the goal is for you to get to know the girl and for the girl to get to know you and to build a connection with her and then exchange contact details at the end of the little coffee date and then set up plans for a later time to meet again. The second type of instant date is where you invite a girl for a coffee date, but due to her logistical availability and not having anything scheduled in the next couple of hours and she has a bit of a free day ahead of her, you can then extend this coffee date for 2 hours to 4 hours depending on her logistical availability. And if you guys have chemistry, you're getting along and you're both feeling spontaneous, you can even move things forward to eventually inviting the girl home. Now, with this specific video, I'm not talking about the mistakes being made on the second type of instant date. I want to talk about the 3 biggest mistakes being made on the first type of instant date and why on these first types of instant dates you guys are being flaked on and the girls are ghosting afterwards because you're doing these 3 things. Now remember guys, on the first type of instant date, which is going to be the most common type of instant date you see yourself on, the only goal is for you to get to know the girl to get to know you and exchange contact details at the end. Now the reason why you can't move things forward most of the time in these types of situations is due to a lack of logistical availability. Most likely in 30 minutes to an hour, she has work schedules, she's catching up with some friends, or she just has some type of plans that's going to hijack you from spending more time with her. So again, the only goal is to hang out with her, get to know her, get her contact details, and set up a date for another time. But where guys make mistakes on these specific dates is sometimes the girls are incredibly receptive, they seem super attracted to you, and there seems to be a crazy amount of chemistry. So sometimes you guys get super excited and think, oh, well, if she seems super receptive, maybe I can move things forward a little bit and start introducing some physical touch. You start holding the girl's hand, or maybe you put your arm around the girl, you just start getting a little bit fucking cuddly or cozy with her, which usually on a normal date, it's not a big issue. If anything, it's actually a good thing. But on these types of instant dates, this can actually be a bad thing when it comes to trying to set up dates with her at a later date, and I'm going to explain at the end in a second. The second big mistake I see guys make is once they get really comfortable with the girl, and the girl seems to be somewhat receptive to the physical touch, she's either holding your hand back or she puts her arm around you and she seems comfortable with this touch, guys then go, oh shit, well, if she's giving me all these green lights, what's the next thing that I should do is maybe move things forward again and maybe I should kiss her. This is what's going to give me the highest chance of seeing the girl again. So fuck it, I'm going to make out with her. Then the guy makes out with her and 2 scenarios, she either rejects it or she complies and she kisses back. If she rejects it, is what it is, whatever. If she kisses back, sweet. You think it's a big win because you just had a makeout and you think you're going to stand out compared to all these other dudes because you made a big impact. But little do you realize this also can be a big problem when trying to set up a date with her at a later date. And then the third thing I see guys do is once they've got that physicality, once they've got that makeout, they just suddenly forget that she's logistically unavailable and she's got plans scheduled in like 30 minutes to an hour after your little instant date. And then you guys get really comfortable and excited and think, you know what? What's the next step? Maybe I can move things forward again and I'm going to invite her home. And you prematurely do this. And again, you have 2 scenarios. She either says no or she says yes. If she says yes, then dude, you got lucky. Like you met a cute girl on the street and you took her home after an hour. Like fucking props to you. It's very rare that's going to happen, but it can happen. Most of the time they're going to say no. And then because they say no, this also will impact your ability to see the girl again when you try to set up a date. So the issues are too much physicality, making out with the girl, and prematurely inviting the girl home. And I know for a lot of you guys, you've done this on your instant dates, and then all of a sudden you never see the girls again, and you're left wondering, why in the world did this chick flake? Like I took her on an instant date, which I've heard is the best way to get solid numbers and give myself the highest chance of seeing this girl again. I was physical with her, she was receptive to it, and then we even shared a kiss. I thought this was like the big Hollywood moment that girls are looking for, and I made such a big impact. Why in the world did she ghost me? Like, what did I do wrong? What's going on here? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to explain to you why girls will now flake after such a magical instant date experience, and give you a bit of an explanation around female psychology here, and explain to you why this is not the best thing to do on those shorter instant dates. So let's look at it from a female's perspective and actually ask the question, why would a girl potentially flake after such an enjoyable instant date experience? Well, you gotta think about it. For most girls, it's probably not the most common experience to walk down the street, be approached by a guy, and within 10 to 15 minutes, she ends up on a date with a dude, and then another 15 minutes, she ends up getting like, you know, pretty cozy and cuddly with some random dude she's just met, ends up making out with him, things get so hot and heavy that the dude ends up inviting her home, and she even potentially considers it. That to her is just so outside of her reality, and starts to make her think like, what in the world just happened? Now, in the moment, she probably really enjoyed the experience, but then the very next day, she wakes up in a different emotional state and sits back and looks at that experience and goes, what in the actual was that? Like, I just met some random dude, and in like 30 minutes, I was making out with him and potentially gonna go home with this guy. And she starts to sit there and think, oh shit, like, that's not me. That's not how I usually behave. I don't usually do stuff like that. Like, I'm a good girl. And then she starts worrying that if she was to tell her friends about that type of experience, are they going to judge her? And then most importantly, what happens with a lot of girls is they then get really scared that you're going to judge them. So if you send her a text message saying, hey, I had such a great time with you yesterday, I'd love to see you again, and you try to set up a date, in her head, she's like, like, is this guy gonna see me and perceive me as just being easy because I hooked up with him so quick? And then what happens is, if she goes on a date with you, the whole time she's thinking like, if I end up sleeping with this guy, is he just gonna put me in the one night stand category? Is he just gonna think that I'm easy and I'm just some promiscuous girl and he's just gonna wanna ghost me after sex? Or is he gonna wanna see me again and see me as like girlfriend material potentially? Well, I was so easy, so maybe he doesn't respect me, so therefore I'm just not gonna see him again. That is probably the most common reason why girls will now flake after an instant date experience like that, because they're just so worried that you're going to judge them. So the next thing you have to be aware of is the girl's fear of you potentially having expectations the next time you see each other. Because the thing is, if she's been on a date with you, like the first time you met for this little coffee date, and she was really cozy with you and you guys made out and things got quite hot and heavy and you were both quite turned on in the whole experience, she now is going to be worried that if she sees you again, you're now going to expect her to behave the exact same way. And the thing is, even though she's probably very attracted to you, and she wouldn't even mind the idea of things maybe potentially being moved forward to the bedroom and you guys hooking up at some point, girls just don't want to feel like there's an expectation on dates. They're emotional creatures. They just kind of want to go with the flow and let things happen naturally. They don't want to feel like things are being forced. And now, because things got so hot and heavy the first time you met, it happened so quickly, she can now feel like there's going to be an expectation on the next date, and she just doesn't want to be in that situation where she either has to let you down or feel pressured to do something. And this is another big reason why girls will end up flaking. They could be attracted to you, they could want to see you again, but they just don't want to feel like there's an expectation. Now, the other reason why she might not want to see you again after an instant date experience like this as well is because the whole thing was just way too smooth. In the moment, she really enjoyed it, but then the next day she wakes up and thinks back, what in the world just happened? Like, that was just way too smooth. Like, who was that guy? Like, who in the world has the confidence to walk up to me in the middle of the street, persuade me to go on a date with him, and the next minute I'm making out with this guy? And because it was so smooth, she just instantly puts you in the player category. She just assumes that you do this with every girl and the experience wasn't special and this is just like your method to meet women. And she doesn't think that if you guys were to see each other again, you're gonna respect her and that she's gonna be special and that you see her as a potential girlfriend option moving forward into the future. And she just sees you as the type of guy that's running around picking up chicks all the time. Because like, let's be honest, if you can actually pull off an instant date where you approach a girl, take her on a date and start making out with her, like it's pretty impressive. Like it takes a certain skill set to do that. It takes practice. So she is actually technically right. Like if you have the ability to do this, like it is kind of impressive and you probably are the type of guy that has a lot of dating options. So technically it is true, but even saying that, you probably did really like her and maybe you did want to see her again and maybe you did want to explore a connection because you really stood out and she was a cool chick, but now you've put yourself in the player category, you've broken a little bit of rapport here and you've broken a bit of trust because you just tried to move things forward too quickly on this instant date. So again guys, remember when you do this, when you start escalating, you start making out with the girls and you start prematurely trying to invite these girls home, these girls start to either judge themselves or worry about you judging them. They also get worried about you having expectations the next time you guys see each other, and then also she gets worried that you're just some player guy and you do do this all the fucking time. Now, before I end the video, I do want to just mention that not every single time you go on these shorter instant dates and you escalate or go for the kiss or invite the girl home, are you going to eventually get flaked on or ghosted. Sometimes, guys, you just meet girls, you have natural chemistry, you get along, and you were just universally meant to connect with one another, and you'll see the girl again. I'm just trying to decrease the likelihood you're going to get flaked on if you're going on a lot of instant dates and you are the type of guy that gets confident and you try to move things forward by being physical or going for the kiss, and you find yourself in a situation where a lot of these girls are flaking. Because there's nothing worse, man. Like, you think you're doing all the right things, the girl seemed receptive, you added a bit of physicality, she seemed down for it, you made out with her, you thought you did such a good job, you thought you had like a genuine connection with this chick, and then she just disappears, and you guys blame yourselves. Like, you blame your performance, you sit there and think that maybe you weren't attractive enough or you did something wrong, whatever it might be. But I'm just letting you know, like, dude, you probably did all the right things. It's just that sometimes, guys, when you push things forward just a little too quickly and you don't have the ability to ramp things up and potentially take the girls home and really close that deal on that same day on these types of instant dates, you're probably just better off to just take your time and focus more on building attraction and connection and comfort with these girls on these instant dates, which will then give you a higher likelihood of seeing them again at a future time. That's all I'm recommending. But I've had so many guys reach out to me and be like, Alex, I've been on an instant date, I made out with the girl and everything, and then she just completely disappeared. Why is this happening? Well, that's why I made this video, to explain to you and help you understand female psychology around why they might disappear after an experience like this. Cool. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you enjoy this type of dating and self-development content, guys, please leave a like and comment and subscribe. And also, if you want to inquire about any of our coaching services, like our video course, 6-month online mentorship program, or our live 5-day immersion, all you got to do is click on the link in the description to book a free consultation call with either myself, Ben, or someone from our team. And also, if you want to gain access to other forms of dating and self-development content that me and Ben don't traditionally post here on the YouTube channel, then you can join our free private Facebook group where we post a bunch of free PDFs, in-fields, step-by-step tutorials, a bunch of articles, and all sorts of cool stuff like that, which you can gain access to in the free Facebook group. But until then, guys, gonna see you in the next one.